Buying rental properties for cash flow is the worst way to start your real estate investing career. It's the worst way to start making money in real estate. My name is Marlon Johnson, and if you're watching this, I'm trying to help out the new investor who's just getting started. I started investing back in 2019, and when I got into real estate, I started off with no capital, no credit, no experience, and I had over $20,000 in credit card debt. Since then, I've been able to build a seven-figure portfolio, hit seven figures of revenue flipping houses in a single year, and I've wholesaled properties all across the nation throughout these last 7 years. I think I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. So here's my perspective. I think if you're getting started in real estate, you should not immediately jump into buying rental properties. If your goal is to replace your income with real estate, I would argue that there are better strategies for income production in the beginning as an early stage entrepreneur, as an early stage investor. So let me clarify a couple of things first. First off, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a CPA. I'm not your attorney. Before you do any sort of investing, speak to the professionals. I'm a guy on YouTube right now. I'm a guy making a video. I'm just a guy who's bought properties and I've got receipts to show it. So you're getting my perspective and my opinion, not my financial advice. But if you are getting started, then you're arguably in one of two places. You either A, need to make money, right? Like you're not making enough money at your work, your job, your career, whatever it may be, or you're getting into real estate investing because you have a lot of money that you want to get a better return on. Now, typically 9 out of 10 new investors I come into are at this side. They're in the I need to make money today phase, which is perfect. So maybe you're currently working a job where you're only making 40,000, 50,000, $80,000 a year, and you're realizing that's not enough money to cut it. You're looking for a higher earning potential vehicle, right? You want to get into a vehicle where the earning potential is unlimited. Beautiful. Real estate investing can offer that opportunity through strategies like wholesale, through strategies like fix and flip, through strategies like becoming a private money lender if you know how to leverage the ability to find capital and put capital into other people's deals. You can make a lot of money there doing that, being like a hard money lender, a private money lender. And so arguably these are active income strategies where you go out, you find your next deal, you get paid for every deal that you find. And then once the deal is over, you stop getting paid. It's pretty straightforward, right? Once I flip a house, I make money. Now, a lot of people fall in love with the idea of, wait, Marlon, with real estate, you can buy passive income. You can buy rental properties, and then you can get paid forever for owning that rental property. Yes and no. Like, yes, technically for owning a rental property, as long as that property stays rented and that tenant pays on time, you can collect income. But you've got to start looking at the math when you're getting started. So I'm going to make an argument right now. Let's say you're a person that has a $60,000 a year job and you want to go out and buy rentals. I'm going to suggest not yet, because if we look at the comparison of the active income versus the passive income, if you go out and you buy rentals right now, on average, your typical rental is going to net as a long-term rental, and we're going across the nation. On average, you're looking about $200 per door net profit if you buy a good deal, right? So if you buy an actual profitable deal that on average, par for the course of profitability is you're going to receive about $200 per unit per door, which you might be thinking, great, I'm getting $200 a month in cash flow. Let's say that your first property you go out and you purchase is a duplex. So it's got 2 units. Both those units rented out are bringing you $400 a month in profit after you pay your mortgage, after you pay your property managers, after you pay all the little things that you need to pay. You got $400 a month net profit. And I'm being generous here. Let's go ahead and multiply that monthly profit by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. So now you're looking at receiving $4,800 a year in profit, in cash flow. Is anyone here ready to retire off of $4,800 a year? No. And the truth is, when you're getting started, it's going to be a slow build. You're going to maybe get one property in your first year, maybe two or three. But most people, they still have a job. They still have their kids. Like, I'm just looking realistically at most people's lives when they're getting started. So they spend all their time, energy, and effort chasing after getting into that one deal. And if they're not a sophisticated investor, they're probably going to use their own capital for the down payment to get into that deal. So they're going to invest somewhere between $20,000 to $50,000 to go ahead and make that $4,800, which when you look at it, that's it's not that great of return. You're looking at getting somewhere between 5 to 10% return on your actual invested capital. I don't love those numbers, but whatever. You did it because you fell into the idea that passive income is what you're chasing after. Cool. Now I'm going to compare the $4,800 duplex to the if you went out and did, let's say, a flip for argument's sake. Now, when I talk to people and teach them to go out and flip real estate, I will tell them that when they're running their numbers for a flip project, that they need to make sure that their profitability on a flip is no less than $25,000 or 10% of the sale price, whichever is higher. So think about this for a minute. If you were going to go flip a house and you bought it, you're going to resell it for $150,000. I would need on that property that you resell for 150 for you to make at least $25,000. But if you're going to resell a property for 500,000 and you said to me, Marlon, I'm going to make 25,000, I'm going to say, hold up, that's not a good deal. I want you to make at least 50,000 because 10% of the 500,000 would be 50,000. So $25,000 margin, profit margin, or 10% of the sale price, whichever is higher. I would hate to ever see a person who's going to go and do on flip deals in California, let's say, where they're selling $1 million properties and they're only making $25,000 on that sale. You're risking too much capital to make too little reward. So the bare minimum profit margin needs to be 25,000 or 10% of the sale price, whichever is higher. So let's say you're on the low end of that margin and you only make $25,000 on a flip. So in year one, you do just one deal, you do one flip. And when you do a flip in the beginning, I recommend doing cosmetic flips, light rehabs, lipstick on a pig. You're getting in fresh coat of paint, maybe some new flooring, a new carpet. And that's about it. Like your flips when you're getting started shouldn't take you more than 3 to 6 weeks in renovation at max, right? Less if possible, but you want to be very in and out. You're not looking for full gut jobs when you're just getting started. You want to get your feet underneath you. You want to walk before you run and run before you jump. And let's say you make the $25,000. Great. So year one, doing an active income strategy, you made 25K. Year one, let's say you did the passive income, you bought that rental, you made $4,800. We already see active income wins, like the 25K, more money, right? Now, let's also look at the long-term responsibility. After you sell the deal, for the most part, you're done. You're out. You transacted. You severed the cord. The property belongs to the new owner. If something happens, if a tree falls next month, that's the new owner's responsibility. Bring it back to the rental. You made $4,800 this year, but let's say at the end of the year, one of your tenants moves out. And when they move out, you go into the unit and you realize that the unit's in worse shape. It needs to be updated, right? They had kids who were drawing on the walls. Sure, you might say, I'm going to keep their security deposit, but to go and get a fresh coat of paint and do some touch-ups on the unit and get it ready to be rent ready again, let's say it's going to cost you $2,000. Well, $4,800 you made, now you're down to only having made $2,800. And during the time of getting it fresh, you're not renting it out. So you also lose a month of rent. So now you've got a mortgage payment that you're probably going to have to cover a portion of on this duplex. So now your $2,800 goes down to something like $2,200. So what I'm getting at is with rental properties, the profit you make has the potential to be reclaimed as time goes on because the unit may need updating in order to keep the property as a strong, viable asset. I don't love rental properties for new investors. I don't think it's a good idea to start at rentals. Eventually get into rentals, yes, because rentals offer depreciation. Rentals do offer cash flow. Rentals offer your net worth going up. Rentals offer the ability to create generational wealth with time going on. But what I'm suggesting is when you get started, focus on your active income first. And I like to give this basic rule. I tell new investors, I want you to focus on your active income till you hit one of 3 points. The first point being, if you're able to get a 12-month runway of your living expenses through active income, then you're ready to start buying passive income. Let me explain what a 12-month runway looks like. Right now, your life costs money. Whether you're single, you're a parent, you have kids, big family, there's a certain dollar amount that y'all spend per month, whether it's mortgage, rent, groceries, utilities, cell phone bill, etc. I want you to calculate what your monthly expenses are. And it's really easy. go to your credit card statements, go to your bank statements, and over the last 3 to 6 months, just simply look at how much you've spent in the last 3 months or the last 6 months, and then average it out. So let's say it averages out that you're spending $5,000 a month across the mortgage, bills, medical, everything, all encompassing $5,000 a month is what it takes to sustain your current standard of living, your current lifestyle. Your first goal before you buy a rental should be let me go and stockpile a 12-month war chest that allows me to sustain my standard of living. God forbid, no new money ever comes in for the next 12 months. If new money doesn't come in, are you and your family able to sustain the current standard of living as is right now? If that's not the case, if you don't have that capital, and I'm not talking about tapping into your retirement account. Ideally, you don't want to tap into your retirement account until it's time to retire, right? I'm talking about money in a savings account, money's in a checking account, money that you have liquid, readily available. I would like the idea of you building up a 12-month runway. Now, some of you are higher risk. If you're single, you might be like, Marlon, I don't need 12 months, 6 months. Cool. But I would say no less than 6 months should you have stored away. The reason and the rationale behind this advice is because in order to change your life, it's going to take consistency and time. And it's like being a farmer. You don't get to just plant the seed today and harvest tomorrow. It takes time. 6 months is the bare minimum amount of time I think it takes for a person to be able to change their life pretty dramatically if they are hyper focused. 12 months then gives us ample time. So that's where I'm looking at. Can you afford, if you needed to say, you know what, I'm quitting this job, I'm going all in, I'm focused on this every single day, and I'm going to work it until it works. If you have 12 months of that kind of focus and that sort of energy, there's no reason you can't change your entire life in a 12-month period. I'm not saying you're going to build the biggest business in 12 months. I'm not saying you're going to become a multi-gajillionaire in 12 months, but you can absolutely change the entire trajectory of your life in 12 months with concentration and focus. So first step before buying passive income is if you're able to accomplish building up a 12-month runway for yourself, for your family, that allows you to then go all in and not have to stress and worry about, did I make money today? But instead, did I plant the right seeds today? Did I take the right actions today? That puts you in a very advantageous state to then later on be able to go in and start buying some of those passive income properties, because you would have a timeline of security to make sure you're in. And also you have reserve capital in case, God forbid, something breaks on your house, because it's real estate. Something will inevitably break. You can afford to fix it. If you can't afford to fix the problems when they happen, guess what? You become a tired landlord. You become the type of people that end up selling me their property because they don't have the money to fix it themselves. So to avoid becoming that person prematurely, you want to make sure you have reserves. The second milestone or metric I like to tell people to get to is, if you're able to, let's say you don't build up the 12-month runway, but instead you develop a skill set and you start working active income in your real estate business, whether it's wholesale, fix and flip, lending, whatever it may be, and you get to the point where you are able to do 3 consecutive months of at least $40,000 revenue back to back to back. So not even that profit, but you're able to generate 40K revenue. Now I'd hope it's pretty high profit, right? If you're spending 40K to make 40K, I would say, okay, listen, that's a knucklehead move. But you're spending a average marketing budget. So you're spending like anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 a month, but you're bringing in 40K. So you're profiting $35,000 each month. And you do that 3 months in a row. So you can prove to yourself it wasn't luck. Then I now know that you have a skill set of being able to create capital in a relatively short period of time. You have been able to reproduce this skill set and do it over and over. Now you're in a better position to go out and buy passive income, because again, if you ever find yourself in trouble, you know that you can always rely on yourself, the number one asset you have, the S&P 500, and you can go back into the marketplace, you can put your hands back in the dirt, and you can make a large sum of capital to then deal with any issues that you may run into later down the road. The third way that I would suggest is where you're allowed to go into buying some passive income is if, let's say you're a salaried individual, you're working, you and your spouse work, you guys have good six-figure salaries. I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm going to give you that kind of a ballpark range. This is Marlon's opinion. This is not a fact. $150,000 to $250,000 household income. If you guys are at that place of you're making $150,000 to $250,000 as a household on salary, the money is consistently coming in, and y'all are financially responsible. You live beneath your means. You're not living a $150,000 a year lifestyle. You're living a $60,000 a year lifestyle. Then I would say, as long as you plan on keeping your W-2 and you're keeping your salaried jobs, then by all means, you can start to buy some of those passive income, because again, you've got a active income of cash flow. It just happens to be that your active income isn't a business that you own, but it's a job that you know, it's a job that you have, it's a job that you plan on keeping, and it's bringing in the benefits of consistent biweekly cash flow. It's a more than enough to support, you're bringing in over $10,000, anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 a month as a household. You're keeping your expenses low. You're able to save money. You're responsible with your money. And now you're taking the additional savings and you're starting to invest it into building an additional cash flow. Then it makes sense. But if you're not in one of those three categories, I want you to focus on the active income. Focus on doing transactions. Focus on being in and out on deals. Systemize the process of being in and out on deals. Work at making minimum $10,000, $15,000 per transaction, right? So aim at that number. Obviously, you'll still take a deal if it's only 5K. Obviously, if you could get a deal that's higher, 20K, 30K, 40K, you're more than stoked, right? I'm talking like if you're wholesaling, if you're flipping, never do a flip for less than $25,000 or 10% of the sale price. If you're going to be a lender, again, same thing. You want to try and aim for, $5,000, $7,000 rips on the lending process, but you want to be able to make larger margins, larger sums of profit and income on the active. Increase your skill set, because when you work on active income, you're increasing your skill set and your capacity to earn money, making you the asset. And before you go out and buy these assets out there, invest in the asset that you already own yourself. Make the asset of you more valuable to the marketplace. So that's my opinion. I say it to people almost daily and weekly. I sit and I've coached thousands of real estate entrepreneurs. The ones that listen to my advice do extremely well. Gerald was one of these people. Gerald, I started coaching him a little over a year ago. He was one of those people that was chasing everything. Instead, we got him to focus, narrow his attention, really dial in on one active income strategy, get ridiculously good at it. In an 8-month time frame, Gerald made over $300,000 with a $1,500 a month ad spend. And so I want y'all to understand it's possible. It requires work, but it is possible. And there's a sequence that makes it better. You don't want to do things out of sequence. There's a syntax that makes sense. I don't want to go passive income first and then active income. I want to go active, then passive. Think Monopoly, right? I want to buy 4 greenhouses and flip them into a big red hotel. I want to go active, 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 passive. I want to flip, 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 keep. I want to transact, 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 buy and hold for wealth, right? The saying I want you to lock into your brain is we buy and sell to create cash so that we can buy and hold to build wealth. We buy and sell to create cash so that we can buy and hold to build wealth. So I hope this video was helpful for y'all. If you really enjoyed this video, you will enjoy the other videos on my page where I talk about these kind of ideas and I share my perspective on entrepreneurship, on real estate and mindset. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this video. I'm curious to know, does this resonate with you, or do you see a different perspective that maybe I haven't addressed? I'm more than open to having a conversation. So I'll see you guys on the next video.